Now let's get started. Governor Pawlenty, President Obama was at Ground Zero today. He received the praise of city leaders there as well as 9/11 families for ordering the special ops mission that killed the world's #1 terrorist, Osama bin Laden. 1 month ago, you said about President Obama, quote, "He doesn't understand America's place in the world, America's place in history. He is weak." Does he still look weak to you today?
Well, first of all, Brett, let me thank Fox News and the Republican Party of South Carolina for hosting this debate. I think it's an important discussion about the future of America. And I want to thank the other contenders who are here with me on this stage for showing up tonight and being part of this important discussion. And to the city of Greenville, the gracious hospitality they've extended to all of us, we appreciate that as well. I do congratulate President Obama for the fine job that he did in taking some tough decisions and being decisive as it related to finding and killing Osama bin Laden. He did a good job, and I tip my cap to him in that moment. But that moment is not the sum total of America's foreign policy. He's made a number of other decisions relating to our security here and around the world that I don't agree with. And in fact, if it turns out that many of the techniques that he criticized during the campaign led to Osama bin Laden's being identified and killed, he should be asked to explain whether he does or doesn't support those techniques. But just to give you one example, in Libya, he made a decision to subordinate our decision-making to the United Nations. I don't agree with that at all. If he says Gaddafi must go, he needs to maintain the options to make Gaddafi go, and he didn't do that.
I know I just read the rules of the debate, but I want to get you all on the record quickly. If you could raise your hand if, as president, you would put out a photo of a dead Osama bin Laden. Just to be sure, Mr. Kaine, you would not.
I would not.
Senator Santorum, you said Monday President Obama has made the country less safe and his policies have made America's enemies, quote, less fearful and less respectful of us. But when it comes to going after terrorists, for example, drone attacks in Pakistan have more than tripled under President Obama. He sent 30,000 more U.S. troops into Afghanistan last year, and he just authorized, as we talked about this mission to kill bin Laden. How much more aggressive could he be?
If you look at what President Obama has done right in foreign policy, it has always been a continuation of the Bush policies. He's gone right by keeping Gitmo open. He's done right by finishing the job in Iraq. He has done right by trying to win in Afghanistan. Those were existing policies that were in place. The decision he made with Osama bin Laden was a tactical decision. It wasn't a strategic decision. The strategic decision was made already by President Bush to go after him. What President Obama has done on his watch, the issues that have come up while he's been president, he's gotten it wrong strategically every single time. Whether it's in Central America, Colombia and Honduras, whether it's in the Middle East, with Egypt, with Syria, and most importantly, with Iran. We had an opportunity 18 months ago to topple a regime that is a sworn enemy, is at war with this country, is funding terrorist attacks against our troops and in the Middle East, and the President of the United States sided with the mullahs instead of the demonstrators.
Congressman Paul, you have wanted to pull U.S. troops out of Afghanistan for years. In fact, you said on the House floor about the U.S. military's efforts in Afghanistan, quote, "Whose interests do we serve by continuing this exercise in futility?" So if President Paul had been running things and troops were already out of Afghanistan, wouldn't that mean that Osama bin Laden would be alive today?
Absolutely not. I mean, he wasn't caught in Afghanistan. Nation building in Afghanistan and telling those people how to live and getting involved in running their country hardly had anything to do with finding the information where he was being held in a country that we give billions of dollars of foreign aid to. At the same time, we're bombing that country. So it's the policy that's at fault. No, not having the troops in Afghanistan wouldn't have hurt. But we went to Afghanistan to get him, and he hasn't been there. Now that he's killed, boy, it is a wonderful time for this country now to reassess it and get the troops out of Afghanistan and end that war that hasn't helped us and hasn't helped anybody in the Middle East.
Hold the applause. Mr. Kaine, about Afghanistan, you recently said this, quote, "If the experts, the generals, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, if they believe we can win, I'm not going to tear up the plan they give me. I'm going to execute the plan. If we can't win, I want to know what we can do to exit with dignity out of that country. You're running for president after almost 10 years in Afghanistan. You don't have your own plan yet about what you would do in Afghanistan?
No, because it's not clear what the mission is. That's the bigger problem. It's not clear what the mission is. It's not real clear to the American people what our interests are. And then thirdly, it's not clear what the roadmap to victory is. And what does that mean? This is why I would revisit the issue in defining those three critical questions, answering those questions before I, as president, made a decision. Because before I make a decision to send men and women in uniform into battle, I want to make sure we know what the objective is clearly, that we clearly know how it serves our interests either at home or abroad, and thirdly, what is our roadmap to victory?
But, sir, how would you define winning in Afghanistan right now as you're looking at it as a candidate?
My point is the experts and their advice and their input would be the basis for me making that decision. I'm not privy to a lot of confidential information since I'm not in government and I'm not in administration. One of the things that I've always prided myself on is making an informed decision based upon knowing all of the facts. And at this point, I don't know all of the facts, but that's the process that I would use. Make sure that we're working on the right problem. Make sure that we set the right priorities relative to Afghanistan and every other country. Thirdly, make sure we get the advice from the right people and then put those plans into place.
Okay. Well, that was quick. You stopped quick. You got the bell back.
Good breaks.
Governor Johnson, you have said you're an advocate of getting out of Afghanistan tomorrow. You've also said that you'd support a Democratic plan to establish a timetable with an end date for withdrawal of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Are you worried at all about providing a specific end date, and that possibly would enable the Taliban to move in the day after the U.S. troops left?
Well, first of all, I'm not in favor of a timetable. I'm in belief that that timetable should be tomorrow, and I realize that tomorrow may involve several months. I was opposed to us going into Iraq from the beginning. I really thought that there was no threat to our national security. I really thought that if we went into Iraq, we would find ourselves in a civil war to which there would be no end. And I thought we had the military surveillance capability to see Iraq roll out any weapons of mass destruction. And if they would have done that, we could have gone in and dealt with that. Afghanistan, originally, I was completely supportive of that. We were attacked. We attacked back. That's what our military is for. And after 6 months, I think we'd pretty effectively taken care of al-Qaeda. But that was 10 years ago. We're building roads, schools, bridges, and highways in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're borrowing 43 cents out of every dollar to do that. In my opinion, this is crazy. And then looking at Libya right now. I'm in a position right now where I'm issuing opinions on everything right away. My opinion on Libya is I'm opposed to it A through Z.
Thank you, Governor. Now